North and South Seafood and Smokehouse presents The Kelly Sheffield Show on 100.5 ESPN and Wisconsin On Demand. Alongside Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball head coach Kelly Sheffield, here's Jon Arias.
And welcome. This is The Kelly Sheffield Show, and it's brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. I'm Jon Arias, joined by Wisconsin volleyball coach Kelly Sheffield. Congratulations, Coach. That is 12 in a row in the Sweet 16. That's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. Just because it happens doesn't mean that is easy, and it's something we're really proud of. I mean, that was certainly a goal coming in here. Can you be consistently good year in and year out, and just. We've been able to do it, and it takes an awful lot from administration to continuity of our staff and elite dedicated players that are trying to achieve big things. So it's something that we're proud of, and hopefully we're able to take us a little bit further. And
you have the same staff that you did when you arrived at Wisconsin in 2013.
Yeah.
And how I guess that's a very unique situation in itself to have the same staff for that long of a period of time, but that helps with that consistency is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's extremely rare, Brittany and Gary and have been here the entire time on staff. Jess has been here for most of the time here. And Anne-Marie, obviously we coach her senior year and has been here for most of the time. And our athletic trainer, Christy Walker, has been here the entire time. Kevin Schultz, I think, got here in year 2 for us, our strength coach. Chad McGahee, our mindfulness coach, got here in 19. So he's now been around our program for a while. And we've added Lauren Carlini this year, who it's first year on staff, but obviously she was here for year 1 with us and knows the program extremely well. So we're extremely fortunate and lucky and blessed.
Yeah. Let's go back to the Georgia Tech match. It was a 4-set match to advance to the regional semifinals. And that was a pretty tough one. That's a really good Yellow Jackets team. Was that the hardest second round match that you've had here at Wisconsin, or maybe one of the hardest?
Definitely one of the hardest. Is it the hardest? It might be, but it also might be recency bias. We thought it was going to be extremely challenging going into the match. The team's really good, very talented, very experienced on the pins. The right side really kind of going against us as well. They play the game extremely well, and that's one of the things that's been awesome is how many first and second round matches in this tournament that have just been barn burners. It used to not be that way. When I first got into all of this, it wouldn't really get good until weekend 2, and sometimes on the second night. And you had that incredible match, that slugfest between Tennessee and Georgia Tech on night 1, and then all throughout the country on second nights, you were having some amazing volleyball. Even the top seeds that were in the middle of a slugfest. It's just we've got to continue to find ways to get more of those games on TV and just showcase how competitive our entire tournament is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the cable audience has missed, Louisville and Northern Iowa, for example.
Yeah.
They had to go to their app to watch it. And I will give credit. The 5th set, that's what I watched. And it was just going around I think that's a pretty valuable resource in itself to have when you don't have those all on traditional cables. You can just go to that 5th set and watch them all happen.
5th set is awesome. It's so glad that's been added the past few years. And, I think Paul Sunderland is a national treasure for our sport, and the honest assessment. He's just you get some really good stuff out of him, and yeah, that's been key. But there's another step to be taken here.
Mm-hmm. Back to the Georgia Tech match for a second, because this is something that the team seemingly does all the time. I know it doesn't happen every match, but first set, 200 attack percentage for your team, 211 in the second, 268 in the third, and then 17 kills, 1 error, and 381 in the 4th set. Why does it seem like all the time this team gets better and better as the match goes along?
Well, it's the goal. Yeah, it certainly doesn't happen that way, but people we bring some unique challenges to teams with how we play, how we block, amount of attackers we have, and so there's a lot of times you're getting some defenses set up against you that are different than what they are showing other teams. And so it takes a couple clicks around to kind of get a feel for what people are trying to do. When we talk to our attackers, hey, after you've taken 4 or 5 swings, you ought to have a decent idea of how people are wanting to defend you and kind of act accordingly. Hopefully our team is evolving throughout the match from the service line and blocking and backcourt D. And I'm not sure we were great at that earlier in the year because there's a mental component as well of not getting frustrated, not getting down, just staying with it, trusting the game plan, trusting your ability to evolve and adapt as you're moving forward. And our players, I think, have gotten a lot better at that.
Okay, I want to talk about Texas A&M and the regional semifinal match you have in front of you when you head to the Lincoln Regional. Plus, it was the final match at the UW Fieldhouse for 6 Wisconsin seniors. I want to touch on that too, plus your fan questions a little bit later on in the show. So we'll be back with more on the Kelly Sheffield Show. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. Jon Arias joined by Wisconsin head volleyball coach Kelly Sheffield. One last time on the match against Georgia Tech, and more specifically after the match, I think it's a really cool thing that you kind of, I think you started this in 13, I'm assuming, where you just kind of push the seniors out when it is the final home match of the season, and thankfully that has come in the postseason for your team. What was it like for you to be able to stand there and watch and just have the fans recognize the 6 Wisconsin seniors?
I mean, it's awesome. It's an incredible love affair is how I would describe it between our players and our fan base. Such appreciation for how our players represent the university and the community and the state, and for how they play the game. And our players, you can see how emotional they were. That they pour themselves in for this game and for this community, and to be able to be recognized like that, it's very, very special.
Yeah, I like the way the match ended too. Just a block assist by Devin Robinson. She had a kill. The final 5 points are basically all senior plays, and then Sarah goes kill to end it. And I thought that was kind of fitting for them to end it that way at home.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great way to end.
Yeah. All right. So you've seen Texas A&M already once this season. They were undefeated at the time they came into the UW Fieldhouse. You were able to beat the Aggies in 3 sets. How are they the same as that team that you faced earlier this season, and how are they different?
It's a lot of the same personnel, probably on both sides of the net. We look a little bit different. I think we had Devin doing some serving and defending and playing a little bit of right side at times then. And, I would say they're playing crisper. Their system looks cleaner than what it did back then. They're serving tougher. This is a really good serve block team. Lednicki is just turning into a superstar over there on the right side. She is a fantastic attacker, but they get the others involved. I mean, their middles are very, very good. This is an elite team. That doesn't surprise me one iota. This was one of the teams I thought there was the most teams that could possibly get into a Final Four that I've ever seen. I thought going into the tournament, there were 19 teams that possibly could have been, if things went the right way, could get into a Final Four. This was one of those 19 teams.
You mentioned their serving I'm sorry, what's that? Oh, sorry, I missed that. All right. So you mentioned their serving. Their serving is tougher. Now, in that match in Madison, I got the box score in front of me. Lola had 31 serves targeted her way. She also had, I think, 32 on Friday night against Georgia Tech. What does it mean to have her back there? And, having teams look at her and say, we're going to target the freshman libero.
Well, I mean, she thrives on that. She embraces those challenges. It's hard to get her down. She's got really nice fighting spirits of, when things, if you get the best of her, she bounces back probably about as quick as anybody on our roster. And you're going to get challenged, especially when your other outsides are seniors and they pass as well as they do. It's that person's going to take a load of the balls. And so your ability to be able to stay in the fight and stay strong at the end of sets and stay strong after an error. And she does that really, really well. It's, but she will, I've been impressed with the growth that her and Charlie, both freshmen on this team, have made as we've gone through this season.
Now you're in the Nebraska regional. So if you're able to get by A&M, you've got Dayton or Nebraska. I talked last week with you kind of about the unique back-to-back nights and how you prepare. You've obviously seen Nebraska a couple of times. You're familiar with them. Dayton, by the way, I think that's the first Sweet 16 for your former team. Can you kind of describe to our listeners how the next few days play out, considering there is a break? It's a little bit of a different scheduling matchup for you and your team.
Yeah, really happy for Dayton. I know how important that is to everybody there. Volleyball is really important. We fell shy, I think 17th, 15th, and the 5th against Ohio State to go to a Sweet 16. That was, we lost another one to Kentucky. I think it was like 17th, 15th when we thought we won the match. That was the opening round, but we thought we had a really nice pathway had we won that match. And so big relief, big celebration, I'm sure there. But yeah, the day between does help you quite a bit. It allows you to kind of keep your focus on one team because you're not rushing for the other. We are familiar with, Nebraska, obviously. We've watched a little bit of Dayton to kind of get a familiarity since we're training this week. Is there anything that we need to particularly work into our training regimen? But the focus is almost totally been on Texas A&M as far as competition goes.
Okay. Let's take a break. When we come back, we've got questions from you, the listeners, you, the fans of Wisconsin volleyball, including some transfer portal question for you, because it is a wild time in college volleyball right now. So let's talk about that next. Okay. All right. We'll take fan questions coming up next. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show. And welcome back. Final segment of the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. Jon Arias joined by Wisconsin coach Kelly Sheffield. Now, every week on X, I put out the post asking for questions for the head coach, and they have definitely come in again this week. Now, this one's from Joe, Kelly, and this one was actually, I never got to it last week, but Joe basically kind of asked two questions. Last week, talking about the transfer portal opening on December 8th. With heavy graduation among our middles and outsides, will Wisconsin be actively looking at transfers? And then this week, how do coaches still in the tournament deal with the opening of the transfer portal? So two there from Joe. Will Wisconsin actively be looking at transfers? And how do you deal with it, with the transfer portal and all of that happening while you're still trying to advance to the Final Four?
Yeah, well, we are looking for transfers. We wanted to balance out, preference. You'd like a good mix of young and old, and we graduate so many older players that we'd be relatively young next year, and so we will be balancing that out with getting some more players. And with roster limits, we're being asked to carry 18 players on our team from here on out, and so that's new. And so we've got to meet that number, and we've got to find a way to get that to that number. It's a lot. It's I don't understand why the portal is open at this point. It's it'd be nice if we had one more week before it opened up. It feels like we're self-sabotaging with some of our rules. We've got two transfer portal windows. The first one is 30 days. Basketball and football is 20 days. I think every coach in the country would appreciate it if that number was shrunk down a little bit. But yeah, all these teams that are in the tournament, about all of them, because as I'm talking with recruits, it seems like they're talking with all of these teams that are in front of us, that are still in, and so we're in no different situation than anybody else. But you certainly would rather not have to be making all these calls right now. But it's a crazy time. And then you throw in revenue sharing. Some of these, quite a few of these players are, they're being offered 5 and 6 figures to transfer. And and trying to, they're basically setting the market for the, what people are going to be paid kind of going forward. And, there's not a lot of schools that are all the way in participating in revenue sharing in our sport. There's a lot that I would say that are in the shallow to mid area, but most schools just aren't participating in it. And then you've got a handful that are in the deep end. So, there's a lot of strategy as far as, what are you offering people? And it's a significant jump of what some of these players are going to be able to do, which is really cool for them. Just the timing of it makes it a little bit tough. And so, the day has been spent about our competition and our team, and then the night has been spent on recruiting.
So, okay, I got a couple questions. Number one, we'll start here. Why, and I'll get back to the fan questions. Why 20 days? Why do you want less time for the transfer portal? Why does that help?
Well, right now, you'd really like to put your focus on the players. I mean, coaches are really stressed right now. I can, I've talked to a couple that are really, really going through some things right now. And, there's people that are in the portal that the coaches found out by seeing something on Twitter. Or getting something from their compliance person. We've gone a totally different direction. I'm not saying that's wrong. I didn't like the previous way when head coaches had to release, you couldn't leave unless you got a release from the coach. I think that was absolutely the worst way to go about it. But the window is so big, and I think the longer that it opened, the more that you've got people going back and forth and having other people getting in their ears, and agents are starting to get involved in our sport because of the contracts, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually a helpful thing, I think, for some of these players. But when you get into negotiations, you're going to have more of that the longer the portal is open. And not only negotiation from school to school, but renegotiations within your own school. And just the uncertainty, the longer that window is open, the harder it is actually to get kids into your school. I mean, they're just, I don't know what the perfect fit is. It's just, I know kids are emotional. I'm talking with the elite kids, and they're still, when they go in the portal, don't know if anybody's going to be interested in them. Coaches have no idea what their roster is going to look like. It's just a really stressful time, and that doesn't happen until the portal closes. And so the longer that's open, just the more anxiety everybody, even current players on teams, is like, who's coming in, who's coming out. And if we can shorten that window, I think it's just healthier for everybody.
Okay. And another question about the portal real quick, and then I do have some other fan questions. You talked about players asking for, the revenue share and basically asking for money. When does that take part in a conversation with the transfer portal player? And are you missing out on recruits because of that? Or are teams going to be missing out because they may just not have the type of money that another team doesn't?
I had a conversation with a kid the other night, and I did not get into money. And I get word that she's already made her decision. And we got back into the ball game with this kid because I was like, wait a minute, give us a chance to talk about that. I didn't know that was the speed with what this was going to do. As the kids I'm talking with, that is with a lot of schools, that's one of the first things that is being said. And I'm starting to understand it a little bit, because this window is so, they've got to make decisions right now. You've only got a few weeks before the next semester is happening. Everybody's transferring to start spring. And, when you're hearing from 30 schools, you've got to make decisions really fast. And so, there's not a lot of time for getting to know each other. Give me the nuts and bolts so I can hear what the nuts and bolts are from the other schools. And maybe I'll visit, maybe I won't, but we'll get this thing figured out and we're moving forward. It is lightning fast and very different than what it has been in the past. And that's without any judgment. It's just, but we've got to adapt.
Fresh comes in on the X post and says all questions will be of little importance after the successful pizza question last week. That was Flying Tomato or Greeks in Muncie, Indiana. And then Pete Wade, Pete was listening to that part while we were filling time on the Thursday match, waiting for that to start. And Pete wants me to ask you, what about Pizza King? Yeah,
Pizza King, the Royal Feast. I mean, the Royal Feast is legendary. What a great pie that is. I mean, Muncie is known for volleyball and their pizza.
A question in, are there any differences in mental preparation this week for a team you beat in the regular season versus the team that you lost to? That's a question that comes in.
Yeah, no, it's we've got an opportunity in front of us. Our entire focus is on advancing this next round. It's and beating this team. I think there's total respect for the talent that is going to be on the other side of the net. I don't have to convince anybody. When you watch, these guys aren't, they're not foolish. We see elite competition all the time. They know what that looks like when you're showing film, and it jumps off the page. We've got a massive challenge in front of us and a massive opportunity. And so they're all excited about it.
McKenna asks if you could pinpoint one who so far has stepped up and impressed you the most during the first few matches of the tournaments, first couple matches.
I think Carter Booth is playing our best volleyball of the year. I've been really impressed with with our young players. I think Charlie's played really well. The moments of she seems like this is she just loving this. This is everybody sees her cartwheels at the end of matches, but she kind of approaches practices with that same spunk, and you can just tell that she's having the time of her life right now. But it's I'd probably start there, but there's a lot of people. Devin, her last match was just getting on the ball and being fierce, and we're turning in the right direction.
Okay. It's Wisconsin versus Texas A&M Friday in Lincoln, 5:30, the pre-match show. First serve just after 6:00. And if Wisconsin advances, they would face the winner of Nebraska and Dayton. Sunday with the pre-match show starting at 1:30 on the Wisconsin Badger Volleyball Radio Network, and first serve just after 2 p.m. Coach, best of luck, and thanks for the time.
Thanks, John.
All right, there you go. That's head coach Kelly Sheffield here on the Kelly Sheffield Show.